It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here. So Jim Acosta out at CNN, apparently.
Yeah.
Will he have his own podcast, I wonder?
Probably.
They wanted him to move. See, this is the true story. They wanted him to move and compete with us at Red Eye Radio. He knew he couldn't, so
there was no way he was going to win that.
He was going, yeah.
It was over. He knew that. It said, you're going to take on the Red Eye guys, and he's like, I got to get out.
Yeah.
I got to choose a different line of work altogether.
Here's an oldie but goodie.
Yeah.
On the Russia investigation, are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation? Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts his butt.
Well, I'm not
like
a big fan of yours either, so
I understand.
To be honest.
So let me ask you a question if I can. You repeatedly said...
You aren't the best.
Mr. President, you repeatedly, over the course of the...
Okay, just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Well, we all know now.
Yeah.
What was he talking about? The Russian hoax. Mm-hmm. It was a hoax.
Well, remember, I don't know if that was during the transition, because the first back and forth between Acosta and Trump was during the 2016 transition period. It was after the election.
No, this would have been in 2022.
Yeah. Okay. So, which is funny that he brings it up all those years later. But when you go back to 2016, that's where Jim Acosta really kind of made his name.
I'm sorry. This was in
2018.
2018. I'm losing track of my years.
Yeah.
This was 2018.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I knew it had to be during the term because Sarah Huckabee was already in place as the spokesperson. But when you go back to the transition period, remember, what were they screaming when he was thrown out? It was during the transition period. I think it was at Trump Tower, but it wasn't a government building, and Trump wasn't in office yet. But the liberal media is saying, "Oh, you can't do this. You can't do this. Free speech and blah 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 blah. First Amendment and blah 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 blah. Freedom of the press. Blah 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 blah." No, he wasn't president at that point, and that wasn't a government building. Sorry, see ya. And then, of course, what was it? A couple years later, they were talking about the border and the back and forth there. Jim Acosta only wanted to debate Trump, and he thought he was winning that debate. And now the debate he'll be having as to where to put his podcast studio, in his basement or his mom's basement, like Olbermann. It's, it really is the implosion of the left, but everybody's, who was it earlier that said, because Trump kept pounding on it and kept pounding on it. Well, no. Trump winning in 24 was actually a result of these issues and people recognizing these issues. People have changed their hearts and their minds based on reality, not based on Trump saying something repeatedly. And that's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that Trump is causing all this. Reality caused this. Trump answered it. Trump was the answer to what people were dealing with in their reality.
You know, and just what I noticed, again, you know, the hoax, you know, the Russia collusion, you know, the Russia investigation. As we all know now, it was created and funded through taxpayer dollars, through campaign dollars to Hillary Clinton, and they used that money illegally.
Mm-hmm.
They were fined by the Federal Elections Commission for using that money illegally, stating that it was for one purpose when actually it was for another purpose, to pay off the people to create the fake dossier, including a Russian national, in a drunk fest to come up with just wild stuff about Trump, which then they packaged together. The FBI got a warrant on it, and that was what started the entire thing, and it was completely and totally created by the Hillary Clinton campaign. And so you look at that. I mean, that was such a huge lie, which we now know. Trump was he's been completely exonerated. He had nothing to do with it. In fact, it was completely a operation from the Hillary Clinton campaign to illegally use campaign dollars to create falsehoods, to create a fraudulent document in order to accuse the opposition candidate of being a traitor against the United States.
Yeah. Yep.
And Hillary skates off scot-free, no problem at all. But understand that that's in the history books now. Trump was exonerated. Then COVID, you look at that. Over the weekend, this is from National Review, Noah Rothman. Over the weekend, the CIA issued an updated assessment, indicated the agency now believes that COVID likely originated with the Chinese laboratory. That intelligence agency joins the Department of Energy and the FBI, both which favor the lab leak hypothesis. Mm-hmm. And as we know, that was released by John Ratcliffe because the Biden administration did not want the American public to know the truth. Right. We knew it already based on, again, source materials. We knew that. Even major liberal newspapers covered that.
Right.
But as he writes, it wasn't long ago that lending credence to that notion would have branded you a conspiracy theorist, and that was gentle treatment. In accordance with the elite consensus, social media outlets attempted to limit the reach of those who failed to rule out that prospect. Wow. Voices at scientific institutions were defamed and intimidated by their colleagues. One unnamed whistleblower described by House Republicans as a highly credible senior-level CIA officer alleged that his colleagues who were amenable to the lab leak theory were offered significant amounts of cash to change their position. Too many in the scientific community led a concerted effort to mislead investigators like former New York Times science reporter David McNeil and make them, in his words, a victim of deception. Despite, this is really interesting, though, because this is where we are, because you and I feel this. Despite this history, the country responded to the CIA revelations with a gaping yawn.
Wow.
That's understandable, even if it's as regrettable. Those who knew long ago that the lab leak theory had too much going for it to be so easily dismissed are underwhelmed by this late confirmation of their priors. Others who enforced the lie around China's role in the pandemic don't want to dwell on their embarrassment. Thus, a conspiracy of silence has been replaced by a conspiracy of boredom. It should not be so. And that's true. It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And, that was, and we go through everything that the left attempted to censor and then accuse the other side of disinformation and then wanting to create the administration that was lying to you over and over and over again and didn't want the truth to be known.
Yep.
And kept lying to you, then wanted to create their own disinformation department.
Right.
Luckily, they picked a person to head it who was so well known for disinformation that it blew up in their face.
Well, it's like John Kerry and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton suggesting lying should be punishable by prison. that Hillary
is
Clinton,
funny. That is funny.
I mean, how do they not see it? Because they don't believe they're liars. They don't believe people believe they're liars. But they have to know. Hillary and Bill would have adjoining cells. John Kerry, I'm glad he said it out loud. The First Amendment blocks our agenda. In a very conversational piece. Did he think that doing it in that conversational setting was going to make it an easier sell? Well, just, people, they don't, if I just say it this way, in podcast style. People will go, oh, yeah. We should do away with that whole freedom of speech garbage. They don't see it. They don't get it. And it really reeks of the desperation that you're seeing now because the tide turned in a big way. For Donald Trump to have that massive swing and the comeback that he had politically. Sorry, but he did a lot of that, but that wasn't all him. The reality created by the Democrats. That contrast between what they did and everything they broke and what he wanted to do. You couple those two and you have just a political force that, well, you're seeing in place right now, at work right now, and it's damaging to the left because they can't wrap their brain around it that not only did he win, but everybody is okay with the stuff he's doing, and it's only been a week.
Well, Donald Trump is president because of Democrats.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is president because of Democrats and liberals in the media.
Yeah. Yes.
Because they got caught in so many lies, and the American public just went,
yeah.
Democrats got caught up in the lawfare, in wanting to become a banana republic.
Mm-hmm.
And that isn't talked about enough.
Right.
Democrats are out there. We called somebody out the other day where they were talking about, 34, it was Stephen A. Smith, 34 felonies, and they'd still rather have him. No. What you don't realize is Americans who voted for Trump don't believe he's guilty of 34 felonies.
Right.
It's not that he had these 34 legit felonies and the American public, still preferred him over Biden. They might have. But that wasn't the case. That they looked at that and said, no, we're voting for Trump because that's bogus.
Yeah.
Where this is the United States, you don't make up crimes to go after your political enemies.
Right.
And Stephen A. Smith still doesn't understand that.
Right. Yeah, they do. Some see what's happening and go, well, look at what they're doing and look what's winning for them, but they still don't know why.
No, they don't. They still don't. They still don't get it. They don't.
To me, that's just amazing. Because I really don't subscribe to the idea that they're all morons. Some may be, but I don't think they all are.
Really, you don't?
I just don't. Not on the air, I don't. Off the air, we can talk. But it's you because it's like, can't you see it? And the answer is no, they can't. They just can't see it.
No, they can't.
And I don't know, that won't ever change. If you can't see it now, you won't ever see it. If you don't see it with this massive political swing that is going on and still happening, still in play, then you probably never will.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
The product category receiving the most attention within USDA's January food price outlook, eggs. Economist Megan Schweitzer says,
egg prices rose by 8.4% in December. That was due to ongoing effects of the avian influenza outbreak that's been going on since 2022. Egg prices in December were up 36.8% from last year, but those prices are still below where they were at the peak of the outbreak at the beginning of 2023.
And as for the forecast for egg prices for 2025,
we are predicting egg prices to increase by 20.3%.
Another product category of interest in the latest food price outlook.
Prices for beef and veal declined in December by 0.2%, but prices were up by 4.9% from last December.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up fine in the bottom of the hour, will California decide to secede from the nation? We'll have this story coming up. But we talk about Jim Acosta, and we were gone from CNN, and talked about both CNN and MSNBC, and they're cratering in the ratings. And this is because they claim to be news people, but they're not. And this is a perfect example. This is a collage of Jim Acosta. The first one starts from last week, where he is talking to a Republican congressman and says, we're about the news, we're about the truth here. And then the others are the lies through omission and other lies that he actually told about Trump. Here it is.
This is not Fox, Congressman. You can't just spin a tale and pull the wool over people's eyes. Yeah. This is CNN. This is the news. We are asking him to come on and tell the truth. It's an alarming choice for a man who has often struggled to unequivocally denounce white supremacists. You'll recall these moments.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Those words have power. They have meaning. And when Donald Trump speaks, the world listens. Neo-Nazis and white supremacists certainly listen. So why can't he denounce them? Why can't he reject their support?
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
What's your response to Donald Trump saying she should be fired, that Liz Cheney should be fired upon? He keeps speaking in these very extreme terms about the potential dangers to the country if he doesn't win in November. He's used words like bloodbath.
All lies and misrepresentations, as we know.
Yeah.
All lies.
And Jim Acosta was a big part of that.
Yeah.
But they kept that up, and people bought into it. That we keep talking about the awakening. You're not woke, but there's this awakening of people looking at reality now going, not only are the Democrats bad at handling the economy and the border and these key items and crime, they also lied about the other side, specifically about Donald Trump, repeatedly.
He claimed he was a journalist and that he tells the truth.
Yeah.
And he was a part of the most obvious lies about Donald Trump.
Yep.
That's not tough for people to figure out.
Nope.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carney, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. I thought this was great yesterday. Surrogates of Donald Trump posting all over the place as liberals are screaming. The singer Selena Gomez crying about the Trump and the Trump administration removing criminal illegal immigrants that have committed other criminal acts out of the country.
Right.
And trying to come up with every single excuse. And so it was all over social media yesterday. You could not miss it. It was almost as if, I wonder if some orders went out. All right, time to post all the Democrats that used to hold the exact same opinion that we did on illegal immigration.
Yeah.
And so here are some of the things that were all over the place. All these went viral on social media yesterday because the best defense is to use our own words against them.
Right.
Here's Obama in 2014.
If you're a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up. The actions I'm taking are not only lawful, they're the kinds of actions taken by every single Republican president and every single Democratic president for the past half century.
Yeah, it's what we've always viewed as normal policy. There's nothing radical at all about it. So Democrats, why are you getting so upset about it? Now, Biden back in 2007 in the presidential debate was asked about sanctuary cities. Mm-hmm. All right. First, he didn't answer the question, and then they said, could you please, answer it specifically? Here is this back and forth.
Would you allow these cities to ignore the federal law regarding the reporting of illegal immigrants and, in fact, provide sanctuary to these immigrants?
The reason the cities ignore the federal law is the fact that there is no funding at the federal level to provide for the kind of enforcement at the federal level you need. Pick up the New York Times today. There's a city not far across the river from my state that imposed the similar sanctions. And what they found out is, as a consequence of that, their city went in the dumps, in the dumpster. Stores started closing. Everything started to happen. And they changed the policy. Part of the problem is you have to have a federal government that can enforce laws. This administration has been fundamentally derelict in not funding any of the requirements that are needed even to enforce the existing law.
So, Senator Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And finally, this is just great. And here was the headline on this audio cut. Bill Kristol, Anna Navarro from The View, and George Stephanopoulos are three people that will undoubtedly spend the next 4 years whining about Trump's cruel immigration policies. They already are.
Yeah.
Here's how they were talking during the Obama presidency.
There you see President Obama in Denver this week. White House even has a hashtag for these outings. They call it "The Bear is Loose." With the president taking some heat for shooting pool, but not going to the border to see that crisis firsthand.
We send children back to Mexico. We send children back all over the world.
But they're not in those situations.
Well, they are in those situations, and things in Central America have been tough for a long time. But the idea that you're going to let unaccompanied minors just come into the U.S. because of a loophole in the 2008 law that allows you to send the Mexican kid back and the Honduran kid gets to stay. And that's not sensible. And so that the Republicans are going to propose this week on the Hill amending the 2008 law to have even treatment for everyone. And the president does have to send a message, you can't come here. And why is this happening? David talks about this has been a problem for decades. Why are these kids suddenly flooding this place? Because the president amnestied all the kids who were already here in 2012, and people in Central America decided...
So the Republicans...
Can I just say one thing? He just finished sentence. He amnestied all the kids who are here, and every sensible person in Central America thought, hey, great, if I can get my kid into the U.S., there'll be an amnesty.
And I think that's part of the problem for the president. If you go down to the border, part of his message has to be, you guys have got to go back home.
There is no such pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for these kids. So it is important for the president to clarify that the misrepresentation that's going on purpose by criminal forces in Central America is not so. That's why it would have been important for him to go to the border.
Who are these people now?
Right. Because they don't know where to go.
So Trump didn't change.
No.
Trump is not a radical.
No.
These are all normal positions
Yeah.
that all of those liberals, because that's what they are now. I don't know what happened.
Right.
Except TDS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Bill Kristol, it's like you hear him, you're like, wow, what happened to him?
You know, it's again, if you don't have a fundamental set of beliefs that you adhere to by a certain age, you know, adulthood, not your age. It doesn't take that long.
Oh, I thought you meant I was young.
Yeah, no. But no, I didn't mean that.
I took that the opposite. I'm going to continue to take it that way.
You take it any way you like it. But
I'm an old man. You're being nice to me.
There you go. You get a discount. What are you complaining about? But if you don't have that fundamental set of beliefs in place as an adult at a certain point in life, then and they're not based in something real. This is the problem. The left has built what they want you to believe is a fundamental set of beliefs, but they're all based on lies. Their core agenda based on lies. I mean, heck, the organization, the pro-abortion organization, put parenthood in their name and planned before that. You look at anything with the liberal transgender movement. These are not based on truths. They are not based on fundamental truths. And as a society, any society, but especially our society that is still somewhat free society, you have to build it on real things. You have to build it on these core principles that everyday people, we go about our business, we go through our day, and we understand it. You know, they keep coming back to the words common sense, but it really is common sense.
You know, Bill Melugin went after, I believe it was ABC Chicago yesterday, for saying the Trump administration is rounding up immigrants. He said, why are you saying that? They're not rounding up immigrants. They're they're going after illegal immigrants that have committed other criminal acts.
Right.
And you're purposely not reporting the truth on it. The whole thing. Who was it? Who was it that went after Pritzker yesterday in Illinois, saying you were helping to spread the whole thing that it was ICE in that school.
Right.
And you knew it wasn't.
Right.
And you're lying about it.
Right.
Why are you lying about the issue? Why can't you tell, if you wish to say they should stay, then take that position. But don't lie. Own the position. Own the truth.
By the way, you know, it's kind of what we were talking about earlier and have talked about before, and that is whether it's the liberal activist media or Pritzker or any other governor in any of the blue states,
or the media, or like Jim Acosta.
Yeah.
Don't say we're dealing with the truth and then put out obvious lies as Acosta did.
Own it.
There.
Own what you believe.
Right.
Why is it that you can't? Why do you have to lie about what you believe? If you're somebody who was part of the awakening of that group, the Michael Rappaport group, and you're thinking back, you have to ask yourself, why is it that they have to accuse the other side, and especially Trump over the last several years, of all of these things, all of these lies things he didn't do? But I mean the biggest of lies, the Russian collusion hoax. We heard the audio cut from Jim Acosta, which is kind of where it started. Again, during the transition period in 2016.
The lawfare is built on
the
lies.
lawfare is built on that, because if you can build that emotion, enough hatred for Trump or anybody, then you can help. Then politically, there is that will to enact that agenda through lawfare and any other means you see necessary. They said it the first time he got elected. We're going to do anything and everything to bring this guy down. And they threw everything at him. And he, in fact, was the benefit of, he was the beneficiary of the greatest political comeback in American history.
And finally, California Secretary of State Shirley Weber has approved a campaign to gather signatures petitioning for a vote on whether California should leave the United States and become an independent country.
Okay, here we go again.
Newsweek contacted Marcus Evans, who is running the campaign, and the White House for comment via email on Saturday. Apparently no response yet.
No.
CalExit, a group that campaigns for Californian independence, described Trump's presidential election win in November as an attack on everything California cares about and argued that it strengthened the state's case for secession. On Thursday, Weber announced that the Independence Petition Initiative, which Evans launched from Fresno, could begin collecting signatures. To have an independence vote included on California's 2028 election ballot, campaigners must gather 546,651 signatures. That's 5% of the total votes cast for Newsom in November of 2022, and submit them to the county elections officials by July 22nd, 2025. The question proposed by the campaign: should California leave the United States and become a free and independent country? For some background, the U.S. Constitution does not include a mechanism for state secession. In 1869, the Supreme Court ruled that the act of admitting a state into the Union was final, with no place for reconsideration except through revolution or through the consent of the states. By the way, California, you're going to have to take your share of the debt. You just can't walk off without.
Yeah.
You got to take your share of the debt.
Yeah, you do. And you have to buy out the state parks, the national parks.
Yeah, all the national parks.
The interstates.
Yeah.
There's a lot you have to give up. Or you guys could just leave, and our friends in Kern County and Orange County can just take the state for themselves.
From what I heard, Illinois and New York are going nuts, going, what are you doing?
Yeah.
If you guys leave, Texas runs everything.
Yeah. Exactly. That's all right.
Which is why we need to rename it the Gulf of Texas.
Yep.
I did that to my buddies.
You saw that Google renamed it Gulf of America.
I saw that.
And Mount McKinley is renamed.
Yeah.
All right.
I do it with my buddies. I go, where'd you come up with the Gulf of Texas? You're from Buffalo. Mm-hmm. These are all my buddies from Buffalo.
Yeah. You're a Texan. You're a Texan.
Well, I'm like, hey, I think I've been here longer than Davy Crockett.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And let me see how many years now. Wow. Total of 28 years. 3 years in the 80s and now 25 years now.
All right.
So, and I'm only, 30.
Right. In hamster years.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. The best story I heard yesterday came out of Hollywood.
Yeah.
The actress Reese Witherspoon. Did you see that story?
Mm.
that she was, after Legally Blonde, that movie that she was in, she was actually chosen as a jury foreman, foreperson, after the jurors thought she went to law school.
I love
They said,
that.
well, you should be the foreperson. Well, why? Well, you went to law school. What are you talking about? The movie.
Yeah.
The people. I'm like, oh, my God. I wouldn't want to be judged by that jury.
Well, exactly. And there was remember the Hollywood Reporter that asked George Clooney about a space movie. What was it like to film in space? Like, no.
No way.
Yes. Yes. And they were serious about it.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.